Middle America is getting destroyed in America today. It's a very different economy. Inflation isn't moving.
It will hit $5 in less than a week.
Brace for impact. High gas prices around the corner for you. America is going to be very, very upset the next few months. Jerome Powell says Fed will wait to cut rates, and that is not good for a lot of people that were hoping to get rates being cut. Oil, direct Iran-Israel war could spike oil. Ready? $30 to $40, which means if you're paying in California right now $5.50 a gallon, you'll be soon at $8 a gallon if it goes up 50%. The U.S. freight recession keeps getting deeper. The average American doesn't know what a 401k is. The Federal Reserve will not be making rate cut.
12-month core PCE inflation, which is one of the most important things we look at, is estimated to have been little changed at 2.8%, and the 3- and 6-month measures of inflation are actually above that level. So we've said at the FOMC that we'll need greater confidence that inflation is moving sustainably toward 2% before it would be appropriate to ease policy.
What does that mean to the average person?
You can already see it at the gas pump because oil is 85. So the average person is like, well, I heard oil is 85. What that mean? It means the gas pump's going on. And thank goodness we're going into summer, not winter, because heating oil would be way up for people that are in the Northeast. If you bought a house maybe last year, squeezed into something at 7%, mortgage rates are still 7%. They're probably only heading back to 6 3/8 or 6.5 by the end of this year because they're talking about only cutting twice. It means the economy is not improving as much as the headlines say, that inflation is stubborn. It's still here. People are still seeing it up. And if you're thinking of buying a house and you're thinking those interest rates are going to come crashing down this year, they're not. That's the loose translation.
Last year, a lot of people were speculating that rates are going to be lowered probably 4 to 6 times this year. And when I say a lot, I mean the heavyweights. I'm talking the guys that are the guys you go and read about, the Morgans, the Goldmans, the guys that are the experts, right? Okay, everybody's like, oh my God, it's going to go down. It's going to be great. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. And then all of a sudden, no. Another month, no, inflation's not dropping. Oh, inflation went up 0.5 point. So now all of this is continuing the way it is to where we're at today.
When you look at all that, it's even a potential mild recession the second half of this year.
Mild recession, so they won't announce that obviously, but U.S. crude oil falls below $85 as traders discount Iran-Israel war at risk that we have. So direct Iran-Israel war could spike oil by $30 to $40. You know who says? Bank of America says. Through 2025, and Brent potentially reaching $130 and U.S. crude oil soaring to $123 if Iranian crude suppliers are disrupted by up to 1.5 million barrels per day. You have inflation, that's one thing. You have interest rates, that's one thing. You have unemployment, that's one thing. You have oil, gas prices, that's one thing.
All those first things you mentioned is like the flu. If oil moves like that, it's cancer on the economy.
Tell me why.
Because oil affects everything. Oil affects fuel, just transporting goods back and forth. And by the way, the U.S. consumer is so much in debt right now, we have a freight recession going on where the amount of freight being transported around is down. You have that. So if oil goes up, air travel goes up immediately. Energy costs, just basic energy costs for your car goes up. Plastics go up. Plastic starts in a barrel of oil. Freight goes up. Oil affects everything. It's like the bad domino to fall in an economy. And by the way, they're saying, oh, it's under 85. The peak a year ago was 93.95. So we're all the way back up within $8 of last year's peak where we were panicking and Joe Biden opened the Strategic Petroleum Reserve to take excess oil out there to kind of help the price. I mean, we're within shouting distance of this. The economy is not nearly as good as it seems. United States oil extraction need about a $60 a barrel to make a buck. 60, 65. The oil sands in North Dakota and Alberta, they need about $55. It's more expensive to get the oil out of the shale as opposed to just plugging a hole in the ground in the Gulf of Mexico or in West Texas. So United States is a very happy place if oil just sits right there at 60. So you think, well, 85 to 60 is not too much. That's 25% more. I mean, you think 25%, that's bad inflation. And if it hits on $100 or 120, that's exactly double. 65 is a happy place.
Should we expect any stability from any of this anytime soon? Or is it just like, get used to the chaos?
I think we need the Middle East to calm the F down. That will settle the oil market.
So check this out. This is the petroleum and other liquids. This is specifically oil, right? U.S. crude oil, early 70s to today. These companies need to make profit, right? This should give the average person a sense of what could happen. July 2022 gas prices in Americas. You're looking at $4.94, $4.99 peak. That's the national average, not California. $4.99 peak national average.
$5.
Yeah. So what is the national average right now? $3.64. Yep. So let's just say $4.99, $1.36 more. What's a $1.36 on $3.64? 37%. If this thing all of a sudden today goes from where it's at to 125 a barrel, gas prices national average will be 550. So gas prices could go to 750 in California for regular, not premium. It'd be $8 for premium if this thing gets 125 bucks. That's what you need to know. Some people, go on dates on Ubers. Can you imagine, like, now you have to cut down your 2 days to 1 day a week? Catastrophic for Ubers, the Lyfts, all these different kind of things that takes place. But that's what this means, basic math, what it could affect. And by the way, this is not just going to affect this Uber, food, everything's going to be going up. And this is the one thing that people will directly feel. This number they'll feel.
Let me translate even further. That means to fill your tank with gas, the average fill up I've read is 12.5 gallons. At that price, you're looking at $100.
The U.S. freight recession keeps getting deeper. J.P. Hunt, a leading freight company, experiences a significant decline in stock value following disappointing first quarter earnings, with profits plummeting by $70.3 million compared to the previous year and revenue dropping by $2.94 billion. Weak trucking volume and sluggish demands contribute to J.P. Hunt's struggle, reflecting broader challenges in the freight market. Demand remains weak. Pricing is remaining at really historic low levels. What's going on here?
I'll give you 3 data points. Our government is telling us the economy is fine. Consumers have $1.1 trillion in credit card debt. The economy is fine. Buy now, pay later. They're delinquent on buy now, pay later. The consumer is fine. So guess what? The consumer is not buying. Consumer purchases are dropping, and therefore there's a lack of demand for freight services to truck all that stuff around. Now you've got freight at historic lows. So what's happening to the income of those truck drivers? It's dropping. This is bad. So the freight recession is basically telling us that there's not demand to be transporting stuff around the United States. Let's translate that. Why isn't there demand? Because the consumer is more tapped out, but the economy is fine. And look at the jobs report. Oh, wait, those are a bunch of part-time jobs people are getting, because for every job that was on the job report, we lost 1.2 full-time jobs. The freight recession is you saying, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, and your mom puts a thermometer in your mouth and says, you have a fever of 103, shouldn't go to school today.
By the way, transportation as an industry, we had one of our clients that we're consulting for, guy's doing 40 million a year, he's down 70% due to not getting loads. And I said, why are you not getting loads? Then another guy jumps in who's part of this mastermind. He says, yeah, we're experiencing, whether it's on the load side where you receive loads to go, whether it's you own trucks right now, guys are selling their trucks because their trucks are not moving. The only way trucks make you money is when they're moving. If they're not moving, they're sitting there like, I don't even know why I'm making these payments. Here's a few things that you have to keep in mind. No matter what business you're in, you have to understand the ambition of your opponent and never downplay the ambition of your opponent. Okay, so guess what? Russia is ambitious. And what's their ambition? Leave us alone. We want to be a superpower. We want to be somebody that you cannot be messing around with. And we want the respect. Russia's got how many nuclear warheads? They got plenty of them. You can put the ranking and kind of see this. China. What's China's ambition? China's ambition is clear. They want to be the biggest superpower in the world. Great. What's Iran's ambition? Is it ambition, or is Iran driven by hatred? What is Iran driven by? Is Iran driven by selling their faith to the world? Like, is Russia driven by selling their religion to the world?
No.
Russia is driven by selling their power and imposing their power and their history to the world.
True.
Is China driven by selling Buddhism? So what's China's trying to do? They're just trying to tell you, we're better at strategy than you, and we're going to be better generals than you to take over, right? So the ambition there is economically to say we're going to be a superpower, right? Here's the article from New York Post. Sex workers complain sales are down as inflation continues to pound the economy.
And it's getting even worse. Inflation has been pounding the economy, and sex workers are saying it's more expensive for them as well.
Let me go into the inflation story here. So high inflation is costing Americans an extra $1,000 a month, an extra $1,000 a month. This is from Fox Business. Americans are facing significant financial strain due to high inflation, with households needing to pay an extra $227 a month compared to a year ago, totaling $1,069 more than 3 years ago. Financial pressures on households, especially low-income earners. Housing and gasoline costs were primary drivers of inflation, and rents up 5.7% from previous year, and gasoline prices up 1.7% during the month. Food prices also saw a 0.1 increase, contributing to a 1.2% rise from previous year and a staggering 21% increase since January of 2021. So that means if you were making $100,000 a year in 2021, you need to make $121,000 a year to be able to maintain the same exact lifestyle just in that period, which is 3 years.
Let's do fun with math again, but this is no fun for the consumer. $1,069, I did the calculation in most U.S. states, leaving out New York and California, because this would be even worse, is $12,500 pre-tax. So 3 years ago to now, you would need $12,500 a year, and then you do tax on it, it's almost $15,000. That means if you didn't get a $15,000 raise, so you can have that $1,069 a month, then you are behind. So all the headlines about, oh, the stock market's up, Magnificent Seven, S&P, oh, this is good, inflation's down. The long-term effect on people has been catastrophic. Right now, this inflation, this is real. And recently, they were having headlines. People saw PPI. It stands for Producer Price Index. So let's just think, Producer Price Index. Producers are people that make things, like Nike that make shoes. And so what do they pay more for all of the fabric and everything that goes into a shoe in the cardboard box? That is the inflation hitting them. When producer prices go up, you can set your watch for 90 days later, those products go up. Basically, inflation continues to go up, so Americans are looking for second jobs, looking for side hustles, and are looking for ever more ways to see if they can trim the budget or save a few bucks or find lower cost alternatives in an economy that is biting them hard.
That is true. That's true for sort of our economic indicators of discretionary spending.
What are we going to see with this article? I'm actually curious.
Yeah, well, if you look at the countries all around the world, the inflation is not just here in America. We know that that's sort of the obvious, but America actually has recovered pretty well based on the rest of the world. So here are some of the countries with the highest inflation at this point. Zimbabwe, I think it's like 500% ridiculous. So America, if you believe the numbers, is sitting at 3.7%. Okay, compared to the rest of the world. Here's China, somehow not even at 0%. Can't believe the data that comes out of China.
I feel like I just had a flashback to a week and a half ago. The cumulative inflation rate over the last 3 years is killing the American middle class. And you can look at it right now and say, is it good that inflation is down? Well, it's good that it's down, but it's not as low as it needs to be. And the cumulative effect over 3 years is pretty bad. People, save that money. You need more money to save the money. And these poor people are now $1,100 a month, a freaking month, 15 grand a year before taxes, worse off than they were 3 years ago. That's pretty harsh. It's good to look out there and say, wow, you know what? The inflation rate is down when I'm eating ramen noodles and I've got major U.S. companies suggesting I have cereal for frickin' dinner.
So Bill Ackman says, student loan forgiveness sounds great for borrowers overburdened with high interest rate debt that they cannot repay. The problem is that the subsidy appears to be principally to more affluent families at the cost of burdening those who didn't attend college or whose parents saved send their kids to schools. It should be illegal for a president to buy votes by transferring funds from certain citizens to others he believes are more likely to support him in an election. He's 100% right. There's a difference between you're talking about inflation isn't as bad as some people think it is. You know who's feeling it? Middle America is getting destroyed in America today due to pathetic policies that we have. The reason why it's rough, it's because they can't move that number with inflation. They keep talking about unemployment, and the unemployment numbers, Rob, the unemployment numbers that we hear about are a couple different things. The point is, we can sit there and talk about unemployment. They don't calculate people that don't want to go back into the workforce, and they calculate if a person has 3 jobs, they calculate it as 3 different people having a job. It's not 3 different people having a job. It's one person has 2 or 3 jobs. So people are desperately having to work multiple jobs to make ends meet today. And you know who feels that? Middle America does. You know who doesn't feel that? People that are doing okay financially. So the policies are finally hitting the people that are feeling it, and they're making noise. By the way, earlier, we asked the questions of who this Iran-Israel war is going to impact the most. Gas prices.
Yep.
If it goes to 5, again. If it goes to 6, again. If it hits the 7, 8, 9, 10 number over the next few months, you already know what's going to be happening if that takes place. And by the way, this is happening. How much oil are we personally producing right now being self-sustaining?
We do know this. If there is a major disruption, trying to get the price of gas down, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which is reserved for war times and crises, so America's got energy at the time of crisis. And Biden flooded the market with it to put excess supply out there to bring the price of gas down for the sake of presidential approval ratings. Yes, that's what he did. And right now, what we're using per day, 20 million barrels, and we don't have a Strategic Petroleum Reserve. So worldwide supplies get disrupted, our own production gets impacted, Pat. Guess what happens to the price of a gallon of gas? It will hit $5 in less than a week.
Wow, that's pretty wild. So guess what, Middle America? Brace for impact. High gas prices are around the corner for you.
Gas prices are obviously a major part of people's expenses when it comes to their car. I always say there's the big 3 expenses that you have: your housing, your transportation, your food and beverage. But back to the larger conversation we're having about the economy, this is on multiple people. It's on, obviously, the administration, the president, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. Some of this is on Jerome Powell. We've said that he's done a pretty good job, but I'm a fan of personal responsibility and personal finance. At what point is it up to the person to make better decisions with their life? The common theme, 2/3 of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. So 100% I want to see inflation come down. We're at, 3.7%? CPI is a little bit higher. We'd love to see it down to 2%. We'd love to see it. But the reality is that most Americans need to focus on what's going on in their house, not on what's going on in the White House.
That is true. Inflation isn't moving. And a lot of people right now, most of the guys are talking about, Pat, I've been in transportation. I experienced 70% dip. I've been in a mortgage business. I experienced 80% dip. When is this thing going to turn around with interest rates? What's going to happen? And even in the market right now, I made an offer on a building. The other day, guys like, what kind of an offer are you wanting to make on this building? We made a $60 million offer. And I said, cash, we'll close in, whatever. He says, really? Yes. So send us the documents. I want you to send me your net operating income. Like, yeah, this is how much we're doing. Really? Send it to us. Well, if that's what you're doing, that's my offer. Well, first show me you got the cash. I send him the cash. Then he sends me back and he says, well, our net operating income was what? 40% less than what he quoted us. We got even lower and lower. Anyways, 40% less than what he quoted us. But you know why he was interested in talking to us? Because anybody else that wants to make an offer at a number like that, guess what they're looking at? They're looking at interest rates. And who the hell wants to go get a $60 million loan right now at 8%, 7%, and the down payment 40%, 35%? It's a very different economy. So middle America's feeling it. Yes, it doesn't necessarily affect the people that made better choices because they have cash. But a lot of people right now are feeling the hit that's going on. And it's mainly the people that you and I don't want to be going through challenging times. Middle. We want middle, and middle is feeling it.
Exactly right. We're creeping back up to the peak that we had. So you can look at the price of a barrel of oil and go to what Pat said earlier, and that is a forecast of where inflation's going to go, because all the things he talked about, from getting a plane ticket to go see your mom, the shipping costs of the truck that just dropped off all that stuff with Amazon Prime, and that's where it's going. And uncertainty in the Middle East, there is a sigh of relief that it didn't break into wide open conflict, but the price of oil is going back up.
Right now, premium is $5.82 in California, guys. Diesel is $5.44 and regular is $5.46. Hawaii is $4.75. You got Washington, Nevada, Oregon, Alaska, Arizona, Illinois, Utah, Idaho. Let's see who's got the lowest. Colorado, 3. Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, 320. You wonder why people are moving to those states? You know what kind of growth right now Texas is getting with people that are moving there? Florida right there, 351. New York is also 350, which is not bad. Guys, by the way, New York against California. Look at what New York is right there, 353. $2 more
Of tax.
Bro, it's tax that he's charging the people. Think about this. The moral of the story here is this. If this thing climbs the way it is, America is going to be very, very upset the next few months. If this continues, it's going to be a little bit tough for the guy that's currently in office.